In a world where cities are racing to touch the sky, China has led the charge in constructing modern marvels that pierce the clouds. Massive skyscrapers, glittering high-rises, and luxury developments rise almost overnight across the country. But behind the sleek glass and steel facades lies a troubling reality. Some of these skyscrapers are collapsing, not because of natural disasters, but due to what many call Tofu-Dreg construction. The term, coined by Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao, refers to poorly built infrastructure that is weak, unstable, and sometimes deadly. So why are some of China's buildings collapsing like houses of cards? What is the truth behind the so-called Tofu-Dreg projects? And how did one of the world's fastest-growing economies become a breeding ground for structural failure? To understand the crisis, we have to look at the speed of China's urbanization. Over the past 3 decades, China has transformed itself from a rural society into an urban powerhouse. Cities like Shenzhen, which were once fishing villages, are now global tech hubs filled with futuristic buildings. The Chinese government's push for rapid economic development led to massive investments in infrastructure and real estate. Construction boomed. Tens of millions of people migrated from rural areas into sprawling urban jungles. Local governments, flush with land sale revenues and looking to impress Beijing, rushed to build higher, faster, and cheaper. But in this race to modernize, quality control often took a back seat to quantity. One of the most notorious examples of Tofu-Dreg construction occurred in 2009 in Shanghai. A nearly completed 13-story residential building, the Lotus Riverside Apartment Tower, collapsed on its side like a toy block. Thankfully, the building had not yet been occupied, so only one worker lost his life. But the collapse shocked the nation and the world. Investigations revealed that the contractor had dug a garage underneath the building without reinforcing the foundation. The construction site also lacked proper drainage, which led to soil erosion. The pressure imbalance caused the entire building to tip over. It was a chilling reminder of what can go wrong when corners are cut. But the Shanghai disaster was not an isolated case. In recent years, there have been multiple reports of newly constructed buildings experiencing cracks, tilting, or complete failure. In 2021, the SEG Plaza skyscraper in Shenzhen began shaking violently for unknown reasons, even though there was no earthquake. The 70-story tower was evacuated and later closed for structural assessment. Engineers could not find definitive signs of damage, but the incident raised questions about the quality of materials used and whether shortcuts were taken during construction. While the building didn't collapse, the fear it created underscored growing public concern over building safety.
So what exactly causes these structural failures? Experts point to a combination of factors: substandard materials, rushed construction timelines, weak enforcement of regulations, and widespread corruption. In many projects, steel and concrete are diluted to cut costs. Some builders even use sea sand, which contains salt and corrodes steel reinforcements. Others neglect critical safety procedures like proper curing of concrete or ensuring foundational depth. When these cost-saving measures are repeated on a massive scale, they become systemic problems. One of the biggest culprits is the profit-driven nature of local Chinese construction. In many cases, real estate developers receive generous incentives from local officials to build large-scale projects. The faster they build, the quicker they can sell units and generate returns. Contractors, under pressure to deliver, often subcontract work to smaller companies that may not meet national standards. In some cases, there are multiple layers of subcontractors, each taking a cut and each reducing costs wherever possible. What starts as a multi-million-dollar project ends up being built on the cheap. Government oversight, while present on paper, is often lacking in practice. Local officials may ignore violations if it means faster GDP growth or personal gain. There have been numerous corruption scandals where officials accepted bribes in exchange for approving permits, turning a blind eye to safety violations. Whistleblowers are often silenced or ignored. Without strict enforcement and accountability, bad actors continue to operate with impunity. The problem goes even deeper. China's building boom led to a glut of construction, entire ghost cities filled with unoccupied towers. In cities like Ordos and Kangbashi, developers built thousands of units without sufficient demand. These projects were funded by speculative investments, bank loans, and state incentives. To save money and meet quotas, many of them were hastily built using the cheapest materials available.
Today, these empty structures stand as eerie monuments to waste, decay, and poor craftsmanship. The term Tofu-Dreg comes from the leftover residue of tofu making, soft, crumbly, and easily broken. It perfectly captures the fragility of these poorly built projects. A study conducted by China's Ministry of Housing and Urban-Rural Development estimated that over 30% of buildings in the country could have quality issues. This is an alarming figure considering the millions of people living and working in these structures. While not all buildings are at risk of imminent collapse, the long-term implications are troubling. As these structures age, the flaws that were once hidden may become deadly. In 2023, a tragic incident in Hunan province reignited public outcry. A residential building collapsed, killing 53 people. Investigations later revealed that the building had been illegally expanded over the years, with additional floors added without permits. The foundation, originally designed for 6 floors, was supporting 10. Combined with poor materials and a lack of maintenance, the building simply gave way. The disaster could have been prevented, but again, oversight had failed. China's central government has acknowledged the issue and introduced reforms to improve building standards. New guidelines have been put in place to ban the use of low-quality materials, and regulations have been tightened for high-rise construction. However, enforcement remains a challenge, especially in remote or rapidly developing regions. The pressure to build and to profit continues to override safety concerns in many cases. In 2021, China also began demolishing hundreds of skyscrapers deemed unsafe or unnecessary. Among them were luxury hotels, office buildings, and even residential towers that had stood for only a few years. In one shocking case, an entire 15-story building was leveled less than a decade after it was completed to foundational issues. The cost of these demolitions is enormous, not just financially, but socially. They erode public trust and raise serious questions about the sustainability of China's urban development model. Interestingly, the phenomenon of skyscraper collapses is not exclusive to China, but the scale and frequency are disproportionately high. Other rapidly developing countries like India and Brazil have also experienced construction failures. However, in China, the problem is compounded by the size of its real estate sector, which contributes to nearly 30% of its GDP. A slowdown or crash in the industry could have devastating ripple effects on the national economy. Furthermore, the environmental impact of these failed projects cannot be ignored. Demolishing a skyscraper releases vast amounts of carbon emissions, wastes resources, and contributes to pollution. In a world already battling climate change, the idea of throwing away entire buildings because of shoddy construction is not just economically reckless, it's environmentally disastrous. So what does the future hold? For China, the path forward involves more than just stricter regulations. It demands a cultural shift in how construction is approached, prioritizing safety, sustainability, and longevity over speed and profit. It means holding developers, officials, and contractors accountable. It requires empowering independent inspectors and protecting whistleblowers. Most importantly, it means valuing human lives over numbers on a spreadsheet. Some cities are already leading the way. In Shanghai and Beijing, new smart building technologies are being integrated to monitor structural health in real time. Advanced sensors can detect stress points, temperature shifts, and foundation movement, alerting authorities before disaster strikes. These innovations offer hope that the tide can be turned, but they must be adopted across the country, not just in elite urban centers. International partnerships may also play a role. China has increasingly sought expertise from foreign architects and engineers to improve safety standards. Joint ventures with European firms have led to improved designs and construction methods. However, Such collaborations are often limited to flagship projects and not the everyday housing where most Chinese citizens live. For the people living in these buildings, the risks remain real. Cracks in walls, shaking floors, leaky ceilings. These are not just inconveniences. They are warnings. Warnings that what's beneath their feet might not be as strong as it seems. And unless China fully addresses the root causes of Tofu-Dreg construction, more tragedies may be waiting. In conclusion, the collapse of skyscrapers in China is not just about faulty engineering. It's about a system that rewarded speed over safety, quantity over quality, and profit over people. While reforms are underway, they must go deeper. The skyscraper is a symbol of progress, ambition, and pride. But when it falls, not from an earthquake, not from a storm, but from human error, it becomes a monument to failure. The real question China must answer isn't just, why are skyscrapers collapsing? It's, what kind of nation do we want to build? One that lasts a lifetime, or one that crumbles under its own weight? If you found this story insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We dig deep into the world's most shocking stories, things most people never hear about. From collapsing skyscrapers to global power shifts, we're here to uncover what's really happening behind the headlines. So subscribe now, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let us know what topic you want us to uncover next. Until then, stay safe, and always question what's built to last.